Ancient paganism differs slightly in the folklore versus modern paganism. Modern paganism thinks that really it can only exist in the dream realm, spirit realm, etc. Ancient paganism believes that it can also exist in the physical realm. That is just the belief of ancient paganism, is basically the belief of our ancestors, what they literally used to believe in. If you ask anybody today that practices ancient paganism, they'll probably tell you that yes, it potentially can, but if it is out there somewhere, it's either really rare or very hidden, or both. So, that's kind of just the general spin on anything like this. Then you get into actually, ancient paganism shows things that modern paganism doesn't remember. It's the lost stories, the forgotten stories, and it makes a bigger picture, a much fuller picture as to what it actually is and to what it actually does. So best start at the beginning. Fauns, they're quite an interesting creature because they've got 1 foot simultaneously at the same time, 1 foot in humanity and 1 foot in the realm of nature, and it seems like that would butt heads, right? It just seems so conflicting. So first off, they're very intriguing, different, kind of creature. And then secondly, how does that even become to existence in the beginning? Like, how was the first Faun created? And that really is several different, stories out there. As to, some people will, insist it was some kind of massive, ritual or spell or something. But this has been, what I'm going to tell has been passed down tens of thousands of years. It's an ancestral story. It's very Odin. I didn't come up with it. It was just told to me, and I am telling you what I was told. So the very first Faun, said to have been created from a male human and a female animal. The species are very specific, and as the story goes, it was a man that had been recently basically exiled from his tribe. It says a man of great magic. Now, it doesn't tell us if he was pagan or if it was something else, but in a sense, we understand that his magic kind of exceeds, probably most people's magic, and that, he was very powerful. So he's gotten exiled he's been sent into the middle of nowhere, basically, into this forest. And the reason for his exile is because he has an uncontrollable lust, and they cannot trust him. The lust is so profuse and profound that he cannot be trusted in human existence because they're afraid that he might accidentally hurt somebody, etc. So he's gone out there into the forest. He's all by himself. He's, as far as the eye can see, there's no humanity anywhere. And it doesn't really mention how he gets this sick, how he has this problem to begin with. We just understand that it's unnatural and it's uncontrollable. Was he bewitched in some way? We have no idea. Was he cursed? Was he influenced? We really don't. Was he just born like that? It really doesn't tell us. But basically, he's wandering off into this forest, and it is a constant battle that he's dealing with. And again, it is legitimately uncontrollable. So he uses his magic, his own magic, and he preys upon the animals in the forest. Basically, he lures them to him with influence magic. And then he takes it a step further and even goes as far as to flat out legit mind control, where basically he's controlling what they think, what they feel, and even to some extent physically perhaps even, putting them in some sort of trance-like state so they don't move much. You know, and he doesn't really hurt them, but he definitely, you know, takes advantage of the fact that they don't have any real way to combat against his magic. But he's not a monster. And he actually, you know, wants to know what becomes of his offspring. He's actually, in fact, quite fearful that they will end up with the same sickness that he has. And he wants to, you know, to best of his ability, make sure that that doesn't happen. But if it is inevitable, then he has to make sure that he deals with it. You know, he has to make sure that if they're out of control, that he deals with it. He notices right away that they are constantly shape-shifting from back and forth, from, you know, full human to full animal, and then a creature that appears to be a hybrid of in between. He teaches them how to speak like a human, how to walk like a human. He teaches them a lot of things. And it is said that the first mother also kind of taught them, you know, what the animal side of things, the forest side of things. So it's actually said that they were both still there in some way. You know, he didn't rob the mother of, you know, he didn't rob the mother of her children. He let them stay with her, but at the same time he was kind of on the side, you know, watching them, teaching them, and many time passed, and he realized that most of them did not contain his same degree of that sickness, and if they did have it, it was to a controllable level. So, and I apologize, it's getting dusk. I apologize, so it's kind of getting dark here. I didn't mean for that to happen. But anyway, we'll turn on a light if we have to. They inherit much of his magic, his ability to influence, mind control, that sort of thing. But they also inherit the magic of the mother, which, you know, is totemic. It's, you know, it's said that there have been 3 original. So there was a deer, a goat, and a ram. And that totemic magic depended, of course, on which one it was. But basically, they all had some sort of role in protecting the forest. They became kind of guardians and watchers of the forest, of nature. And it's said that, you know, anyone coming by of malice was put to a test. Anyone really that was even suspected could potentially have some sort of ill intent for the forest, especially humans, because we think about humans, I mean, what do they like to do? They like to tear down forests. So they would test you, and the way that they would test you is using that sort of influence to make you think and trick you, just riddle you and trick you, to make you think that the way to pass the test, you know, was in fact the exact opposite of what you really need to do. So basically, they would, in a very riddled way, influence you to fail on purpose. And the only way that you could pass the test is if you were pure intent, because anyone of pure intent would not have their opinion swayed at all. They would not, you know, they would stand true to their morals and their values and not do what the Faun was trying to get them to do, which was to fail. If they passed the test, they were allowed a safe passage, and if they were lost, they were helped to find, you know, wherever they were meant to go. They were helped to find where they were supposed to go. So in you know, the dream realm sense and spirit realm sense, usually when a faun visits you, it's more so along the lines of you've strayed off the wrong path. And they're testing to see what the core of your spirit is. If the core of your spirit is still with the intent to do the right thing and you want to find the right path that you're meant to be on, then they'll say, okay, let me help you get you back to who you really are instead of what you've been doing, who you really are, who you're really meant to be. And if you fail that test in the dream realm / spirit realm, usually it's just bad luck, threefold, that kind of thing. In the physical realm, though, it usually means that they're going to slaughter you or torture you or something really bad, something really not good. I mean, either's not good, to be honest. Fauns have war magic, you know, not just mending magic, not just influence. They have war magic as well, so to get on the wrong side of one is not good. So that you can never lie to a faun because they'll see right through you. They can see intent a mile away, so to speak. Just, I mean, as a saying, they can spot it, you know. And not only that, they're constantly looking for it. I mean, that's basically what a faun does. The seduction side of it comes into that, you know, first father story. That has its own potential, you know, different reasons, but I mean, you can run down the rabbit hole with that, but I'm not going to really elaborate much on it, but you can probably understand how that could play into as well, that other half of them, that other side of them, especially when you talk about fertility and things like that, that kind of fertility magic, and you talk about stuff like that especially. I want to talk a bit about, just a little bit about the ancient paganism belief in the physical realm. Because they are great shapeshifters, and that's what a lot of people forget nowadays, they can shift at the drop of a hat. And so if someone were to go out there, especially like during the witch hunt era, if someone were to go out there and spot them, any threat that came along, any threat that they knew that they were either ill prepared for or unmatched for, they would use shape-shifting as a defense mechanism, and basically they would shift into a complete animal, just a regular old animal. And so what you'd be looking at is just a regular deer, a regular goat, a regular ram, and you wouldn't necessarily think anything of it at all. You know, just a herd of goats or something. You wouldn't think anything of it at all because they look exceptionally ordinary. And then the moment that someone turns away, then they can go back to that sort of half hybridized form. Typically, that is where they stay the most. That is kind of, you know, the 9 times out of 10, the form that they assume is that hybrid form, and only shift to human or animal, you know, when there's an actual necessary reason. And that form is said to be a humanish-like torso with horns or antlers, and an animal-like lower half. If you flip those, it's said to be exceptionally bad luck. So it's always supposed to be, you know, the humanish on the torso and the animalish, you know, on the lower, and never flipped around or anything like that. But sometimes it's not just, you know, a human face with maybe a little bit of animal features. Sometimes it is the entire head and neck being the animal, and then the rest of the torso being human-like, and then again with the lower half still being, you know, animal-like. And that is not bad luck, but to completely flip them would be. So